All right, so thank you for tuning in and chomping at the bit. I'm Kyle Edwards, of course, and I'd like to welcome you to a brand new episode where on this one we're going to talk about the week 4 in the NFL, where I'm going to go over the picks I made, see how well I did, and then at the end of the episode, we'll take a look at Thursday Night Football, which will then become the first pick of week 5, so I'll give you that with a little breakdown. And yeah, so another week in the books, another competitive week. Gotta say, a lot of picks were tough, and a lot of the scores represented why they were tough picks. But coming into this week, so through 3 weeks, I was 25-23, and as I said in the beginning, the goal is to go about 60%, so not quite there, but we're still above 500, so that's good. That was another full slate, so another 16 games to go through, and we'll just go ahead and get started with them. And let's see here. So if I get a pick right, you'll hear this, and then if the pick's right, hold on. Just if I get the pick wrong, you'll hear this. If I get the pick right, you'll hear this. So let's go ahead, get our picks segment going. So the first game was a Thursday night game last week, which was the Bengals-Jaguars. Jaguars looking for their first win. Bengals came into the game as a 7.5-point favorite. I went with the Bengals on this one. And the game was much tighter than you or I probably thought it was going to be. The Bengals did pull it out, but they won 24-21, which is a loss because in order for it to be a Bengals cover, they had to win by 7.5 points or more. Since they didn't, it's a Jaguars cover. And then quickly on that game, it was, I guess coming after that game, all this stuff with Urban Meyer and the reports that like the team is kind of laughing behind his back. If you watched that game, you wouldn't think it was a team that, isn't really playing for Meyer, because they did play well. They went into the half with a 14-0 lead. And I know watching the game, I thought it was going to be an upset because Trevor Lawrence and that offense just looked so good. They looked better than they had at any point this season so far. And the Bengals were really struggling in the first half. But once they got into the third quarter, the Bengals made up the deficit because they went 14. They scored 14 in the third quarter, and they held the Jaguars scoreless, which then set the table for the fourth quarter with them both tied at 14. But the Bengals were able to win it late and get a 24-21 win. Joe Burrow had another good game, threw for 348, had 2 touchdowns. Bengals are now 3-1 and look like they could be a player in that division going forward. And then the Jaguars, like I said, 0-4. Got to see what this Urban Meyer thing's going to be. The owner already came out and said that Urban Meyer's going to have to regain the trust of the organization. Don't really like hearing that after 4 games. So we'll have to see, does Urban Meyer make it through the year? Because that statement right there lets you know he's on the hot seat already. So if you don't know, it's just an off-the-field video, woman dancing on him or something, whatever. But yeah, we'll have to see. Does the season completely go in the tank and the team quits on him? Do they rally behind him? Maybe steal a win or 2 here to save his job? Interesting story. Definitely something to watch. But go ahead. Next game was Washington and the Falcons. I took the Falcons in this one as the 1.5-point underdog. And Washington got the win. They won 34-30. But that's a loss because they won by more than 1.5. This game literally came down to 2 teams struggling defensively, even though Washington's defense is supposed to be much better. But they did enough to win the game, got their season at 2-2. Big win for them early because losing to Atlanta, going down to 1-3, the season could have gone in the tank. But at 2-2, you kind of right the ship and you try to move on from there. Heineke actually led another late drive, because if you remember, they got their first one on a late drive down the field against the Giants to win it at the end. This game, same thing, except they got a touchdown late to take the lead, and then Atlanta wasn't able to score after. And then for Atlanta, they go to 1-3, and they have the London game Sunday. So they're staring 1-4 in the face, but they have the Jets, so there's a chance to get a win there, get to 2-3. But for this Falcons team, it's literally the same as been the past 5 years. Defense is just not good enough. The offense, you put up 30, you expect to win most weeks in the NFL. It's not like they were playing a dominant team in Washington, but so during this game, I was on Twitter because I was tweeting to some Falcons fans or whatever about the whole Kyle Pitts draft pick. So coming out of this game, I was thinking yeah, they took Kyle Pitts, who's gifted offensively, but with all the holes that this team has defensively, I felt draft night they should have gone defense because they could have gotten better value out of the pick. And now we are seeing a team that offensively is okay, but defensively they can't stop anybody. They miss tackles still, which has been an issue for years. They can't cover anybody, issue for years. So you put that together, you're losing high scoring games to teams that shouldn't, Washington shouldn't be putting up 34 points on anybody. So I don't know what Atlanta's going to do, because they'll probably have another high draft pick and they'll take some offensive player from an SEC school next year, and we'll probably be in the same situation next season. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But that's where I'm at with Atlanta. Let's go ahead. Next game. Buffalo, Houston took the Bills minus the 17.5, even though that line was ridiculously large. And a lot of times I feel like when you have a line like that, you get screwed in the end because the underdog team gets a late touchdown and makes it a 16-point win and you lose. But I went Buffalo here because Houston has a bunch of issues. And we saw Davis Mills, their quarterback, the Thursday before really struggle. So I figured that was going to continue against a better Buffalo team. And it did, because Buffalo won 40-0. So and basically what we've seen is Buffalo has really turned it on as a team. They struggled early in the season, but these past couple of weeks, we're seeing the team that was an AFC title contender last year. And going forward, they have a big matchup this weekend against Kansas City. And that's going to be a rematch of the AFC title game. So, Buffalo could really make some headway here. If they beat Kansas City this weekend, they'll probably cement themselves as the best team in the AFC. And for Houston, it is what it is. It's a trash year for them. They weren't going to do anything anyway, so you leave Davis Mills there, you let him get some experience, see what you got in him, and then high draft pick next year, decide whether you need a quarterback or not. That's what this whole year is about. Next game, Lions-Bears. Let's see. So I took the Lions here plus the 3. Mainly did it off of Fields and the Bears' performance last week against team slipping me, but Fields went 6 for 20, 70 yards. So I thought he was gonna be kind of slow growth with him. And then the Lions, who have played their opponents kind of tough so far this year. I thought this would be a game where they would slip in and get a win. They didn't. The Bears won 24-14, so that's a loss. So in this one, Fields looked, like the guy we saw at Ohio State. Made plays with his legs, his arm, and then he, parlayed that into getting the starting job. He was announced as the permanent starter going forward, I believe earlier today. So basically where I thought they should have started the season with Fields as the starter. I think my prediction was like week 4 or 5 he'd become the permanent starter. So it's right in line with what I thought, but still wasn't the right move. He should have been the starter since week 1. And then maybe the bad performance from last week would have been week 1, and then he would have picked up after like week 2. So they're 2-2, which is fine. But you never know what they might have been if he had been starting since day 1. And Lions are still winless, so, But Lions are lacking talent right now. So for the Lions, this is about, I guess, deciding if Jared Goff is a guy to build around and just evaluating talent. So that's what they're doing. See, next game, Panthers, Cowboys. Took the Cowboys here -4. Cowboys got the win 36-28. It's a win. It was a battle of, the Panthers were unbeaten coming to this game, so the Cowboys knocked them from the ranks of the unbeaten. What happened with this game? The Cowboys basically controlled the game on the ground with Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard. Dallas is kind of force-feeding Ezekiel Elliott these past couple weeks. Why. They gave him that big contract. He struggled last year, so they're trying to reestablish the fact that he's a, top-level running back in the league. He struggled early this season, like I said. Past couple weeks, he's done a little better. And Mike McCarthy and those guys know that in order for the Cowboys to do well, they need Elliott to be a threat on the ground, because you already know what you're getting from Dak, but you can't have Dak dropping back, 50, 55 times with no running game to support him, because then that just makes defenses game plan against them that much easier. So they continue to get that balance, which will be perfect for them. And in that division, it's not a good division. So if they can stack the wins early on, maybe they pull away. And who knows, maybe it's a different year in Dallas where all the hype from the preseason, offseason, maybe it pays off. They get to the playoffs. But still a lot of work to be done this year. But they're 3-1. It's a good start for them. Carolina's had a great start to the year. They dropped to 3-1, but I don't know if they're a team that's going to fall off. And they did just get Stephon Gilmore from the Patriots today. So that's definitely going to bolster their secondary, because they did lose. Didn't they lose with J.C. Horn last week? So Gilmore can fill in there. And we'll have to see what that does defensively for them, because 36 is way too much to give up. And who knows, maybe the Panthers can stay in this for a little longer, make it a little interesting, maybe make a playoff run. Because we figured Tampa Bay is going to be the champion in the NFC South. Maybe the Panthers can slide in as the second best team in that division, and then depending on what other teams do, maybe sneak in with a wild card spot. Next game was Colts-Dolphins. I took the Dolphins minus the 2.5 here. Colts won the game 27-17. Loss for me. So the Colts get their first win. The Dolphins have now lost 3 straight, I believe. It's 2 teams that have been pretty disappointing so far this year, because the Dolphins are seen as an up-and-coming team in the AFC. They are dealing with the injury to Tua, the quarterback, right now. And then the Colts have been disappointing because they went and got Carson Wentz in the offseason. A lot of people thought that he was a piece that would come to that team and kind of continue what Phillip Rivers did last year, where they made the playoffs, but it was seen as Wentz was an upgrade over Phillip Rivers, who retired. So, of course, the fact that Wentz is playing is an upgrade. But yeah, 1-3 start. They're gonna have to turn this around quickly. The Titans have kind of struggled as well, so they're not too far back in the division. But yeah, you want to start stacking some wins together here. So like I said, 2 disappointing teams. Maybe this win gets the Colts going. And with the Dolphins now on a losing streak, we'll have to see if they can turn their season around and kind of right their ship. Next game, Browns-Vikings. I took the Browns -1, and the Browns won a low-scoring game, 14-7. That's a win for me. Let's see. So, clearly the story of this game was defense. Cleveland, we know, they're pretty good defensively. Minnesota with, what's the coach's name? I'm picturing him. That'll come to me. But they're built on defense. It is a bit of a worry. Cleveland offensively is pretty unpredictable so far this year. There will be games like this during a season where offensively you just don't have it going, and you have to rely on your defense to kind of carry you. But they are 3-1, so that's good. But the offense is too talented to only put up 14 points with Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield. I know you're missing Landry, but you just got Odell back. You have Baker Mayfield. You have Peoples-Jones. So there's talent there offensively. And 14 points, that defense isn't going to keep a lot of teams to 7 points. The Vikings have their own struggles. They have Cousins, they have Thielen, they have Cook. But then really outside of that, there isn't much that threatens defenses. So I feel like what teams are going to do is, try to double Thielen. If it's obvious run situations, you stack the box. Coach Zimmer, that's the Vikings coach, Zimmer. But until, I guess, Cousins raises his play and Cook has been kind of dinged up so far this year. So once he gets really going, then maybe the Vikings can string some wins together. But right now, it's looking a little rough for them. I think before this season, I thought the Vikings are a team that might be able to surprise in that division and give Green Bay a run. But yeah, clearly that's not looking like it's going to happen. But like I said, Browns 3-1 was a win that they needed. They got it. So they move on to next week. Next game, Giants-Saints. I took the Saints -7. Giants ended up winning this game 27-21 in overtime. Since it lost. I don't know what to make of the Saints. They are up and down. They had the great game against Green Bay. Looked like trash against Carolina. Bounced back and played well against New England. To then lose to a winless Giants team. First game in New Orleans since last year. All that emotion and all that wrapped up into the game. and they lose it in overtime to the Giants. So I guess it makes sense the Saints are 2-2, but after that opening win against Green Bay, I'm shocked to see where they've gone since then. The Giants, I guess I kind of said this after their last loss to Atlanta. They have talent on that team, and I was expecting that wins were going to start coming. Didn't think it was going to start with the Saints, but good win for them. Maybe it's the momentum builder. Maybe Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley start getting some consistency and the offense performs better. Because the defense, I think defense is probably middle of the road, which I think is good enough based off what they have offensively. And once again, in that division, they can beat the Eagles, they can beat Washington, and it seems like every year they split with the Cowboys, so they're not completely out of it there yet. So we'll have to see if this was a fluke win, or if they can back it up, get a second win this upcoming week. All right, next game, Jets, Titans. I took the Titans minus the 6. Jets won this game 27-24. Loss. So and they won the game in overtime. So Jets and the Giants both get their first win in overtime against teams that were 6 and 7 point favorites. So big wins for them. So for the Jets, Zach Wilson, Robert Saleh get their first win with coach quarterback with the Jets. And I mean they celebrated. They gave Saleh the Gatorade bath and all that. It was a good win for them because Titans are supposed to be a good team. They have Derrick Henry who can carry the Titans some weeks on his own. But they did a good enough job slowing him down and then getting to Tannehill a few times. And the offense, they showed up. Maybe the Titans were underestimating them, but they get a big win. First win, it's always the toughest one to get. So now, Wilson can take a deep breath, build upon it, and then, go forward in the rest of the season, try to get some more wins. Because one's nice, but more is better. Yeah. Titans, tough loss. I mean, definitely not a game they expected to lose. 3-1 looks a lot better than 2-2. Let's see. What else can we take from this? Oh, quick little note. I'm sure if you did watch this game, you would have noticed that Julio Jones wasn't on the field. Well, it's because he's hurt. What else is new? Not to say he was going to make any difference, because I feel like he's been pretty forgettable in Tennessee so far. But it's something I do like to pay attention to every year. When will he get hurt? Well, we had our answer. He's already hurt, and it was only week 4. Yeah. But people think he's the best wide receiver in the league, though. I'll leave that up to you to try to explain to me how that's possible. In order to be the best wide receiver, you need to be on the field more often than he is. At least recently. But I digress. So let's go to the next game. Next game was Chiefs-Eagles. I took the Chiefs in this one, -7. And Chiefs had a nice bounce back win. 42-30 win. So yeah, after the loss to the Chargers, they came into this one at 1-2. Definitely didn't want to go to 1-3. And especially with the Eagles coming in a game they couldn't lose at home. Or were they at home or were they in Philly? I think they were at home. Actually, let me see. Was that game in? No, the game was in Philly, right? Hold on. Looking real quickly. Okay, what are we doing here? Yes, it was in Philly. Okay. So they get a win on the road. Mahomes had 5 touchdown passes. I'm sure you've seen the highlight already with the underhand shovel pass, whatever that was, down the red zone area. I mean, yeah, we get it that he can do all that kind of stuff. I don't really overreact to it because ultimately it's just a touchdown pass. All the no look stuff. I still say one of these games he's going to attempt one of those passes and it's going to go wrong. It'll get picked off or something, and then I wonder what the reaction will be to all of that. Because right now when he does it, people lose their mind and talk about how, he has this great vision, all this kind of stuff. Whatever. But it was a game they should have won. They got the win. The defense still shaky to me. 30 points to Philly. It's kind of rough. And ultimately, I do think that defense is going to be what keeps them from making another Super Bowl run. Because I think we've started to see that the Chargers in that division are going to be tough. I don't think the Raiders are going to go anywhere. And the Broncos are kind of the wild card in that division. Because I really don't know what to make of them yet. But it's not like the past few years where the Chiefs were clearly the dominant team and would go out, win, 12, 13 games. And your second place team's only winning 7 or 8. I think it's going to be a much tighter race this year. So we'll have to see if the defense ultimately is the demise of the team. Let's see what else. Well, the Chiefs did get Josh Gordon. I mean, those of you who don't remember, Josh Gordon is the oft-reinstated wide receiver. And once again, he's been reinstated. He's going to Kansas City. I don't know how many times this has been, but clearly the league really wants to help him, which I can appreciate. Question is, when will it happen? So how long is this stay going to be? Because we've seen sometimes where it's a couple of weeks and he ends up, suspended again or whatever. I'm hoping he makes it through the rest of the year because he is talented, but he's had a lot of trouble staying on the field. So, like I said, hoping that this time he, finally figures it out and gets to play. It's not a full season, but somewhat a decent amount of a season. All right, let's go to the next game, which was Rams-Cardinals. I took the Rams in this one, minus the 4. For some reason, I went against my guy Kyler Murray, and I got burned for it. So I get what I get. Cardinals won 37-20. And you know what I think? I think it's time. Start paying attention to the Cardinals. They're 4-0. That's one. They are the last unbeaten team. So that's something. Kyler Murray has looked, dare I say, MVP-esque so far. The defense has been, for as potent as this offense is, the defense has been perfect. Going up against a Rams team that is high-powered as well, you only give up 20 points, that's a win. And if this defense can hold teams to 20, 23 points a week, then I think the Cardinals are in good shape to not only win that division, but possibly be a top seed in the NFC. And who knows, maybe if matchups break correctly for them, NFC title game, maybe they're a Super Bowl team. I don't know. It's only been 4 weeks, but I like what I'm seeing out of them. I had questions about AJ Green when they brought him in the offseason. But I think he's a perfect complement to DeAndre Hopkins as long as AJ Green can stay healthy. That's going to be the key to this whole puzzle. AJ Green needs to make it through the whole year. And Kyler Murray as well, because we know Kyler Murray is not the biggest guy. He'll sometimes take unnecessary hits, and with his frame, not the smartest thing. So if he can stay upright, sometimes just throw the ball away instead of trying to extend plays and take unnecessary hits, they'll be fine. The Rams, it's their first loss in the year. I'm not going to overreact too much. But let's see, because through the first 3 weeks, everything was clicking for them. And now that they've lost the game, we'll see what Stafford, McVay, what those two do to kind of get back on the winning trend. I think the running back situation there could be a sneaky issue. Because, they did bring in Sony Michel from New England. But he's still trying to learn the system, but he hasn't really been all that productive yet. Because like this game, he was 3 carries, 11 yards. They do have Henderson still, but I think for the Rams to really see through to the potential in this team, they'll need the two of them to be productive, Henderson and Michel. Because receiving wise, you're fine. You have Jefferson, you got Kupp, you have Woods. That's a three-headed monster there. But if you want teams to respect the run, then I think Michel needs to be more a part of the game plan. So just giving you something to look to pay attention to going through the rest of the year. Because I don't think the Cardinals are going to run away with this division in any way. But I don't know. Should we automatically assume that the Rams are the second, or maybe they're still the best team in the division? I don't know. But I'm just thinking out loud here. But let's go ahead. The next game. Speaking of the NFC West, it was Seahawks 49ers. I took the Seahawks as the underdog here, plus 2.5. And yeah, so the Seahawks not only covered, but won the game outright. Seahawks won 28-21. Russell Wilson had a Russell Wilson type day. Yeah, you know what you're going to get from him. He's good for like one highlight reel play. And he had one where he dropped back. Niners got pressure on him. They had like 3 guys barreling down on him. He spun away from the first one, rolled out to his right, avoiding the other 2 guys, and then threw a strike to the the front corner of the end zone for a touchdown. And so, that play led them to the win. They even their record to 2-2, so they get back into the race in the division. 49ers dropped to 2-2. 49ers have some injury issues. because Garoppolo, I believe, hurt his calf. So we got kind of an extended look at Trey Lance. He did have 2 touchdown passes. I think Garoppolo's out for the next few weeks, so we'll get to see what this team looks like with Lance as the starting quarterback. So the question is going to be, can he perform well enough to keep Garoppolo on the sideline even when he comes back healthy? I don't know if I'd go that far yet, but well, let's see how Lance does this weekend when, now he's going to go through the whole week taking first team reps. He'll be preparing as a starting quarterback, so we'll see what that looks like. So yeah, this could be a turning point for the Niners. And let's see. Ever Seattle? I mean, you guys already know how I am about Seattle. I like Russell Wilson, so I never count them out, really. And 2-2, I think, is a fine spot to be in after 4 weeks for them. Let's move on. Okay, we got 4 games left. Next game, Ravens, Broncos. I took the Broncos +1. I think up to Saturday, this game was even on the board. And then late Saturday, it became -1 to the Ravens. I think once we found out Lamar was going to play, even though he had a back issue. But I took Broncos +1 because I thought he was going to be a little limited with the back. But what happened was, Bridgewater got hurt, left the game early in the first half. Drew Lock came in. So once Lock came in, I knew the Broncos didn't have a shot. We saw Lock last year. Didn't look good. He came into this game. Didn't look good. So it was clear the Ravens were going to win this game. So I'm not going to take too much away from it for Baltimore. I mean, Lamar did drive the ball through the air. He had a long touchdown pass to Hollywood Brown. And those are the plays that I need to see from him, because I've said before that until Lamar gets better at making plays with his arm, I think there's a ceiling to how far the Ravens can go. They'll be a perennial playoff team, but to be a serious contender, I don't think they can do it without him becoming a better passer. So we'll have to see if he can continue to do that. Because if he continue, quarterbacks who rely on their legs have a very short shelf life. Because, you're quick, but all it takes is one hit to take the speed away from you, and then without the speed, you got to rely on your arm, and if you don't develop it early, you'll just struggle. And then for Denver, until Bridgewater gets back, I don't really see them winning too many games. So he's in concussion protocol. We'll have to see if he's able to get cleared to play this weekend. If not, I'm assuming it's going to be Drew Lock, which means I'll probably assume a loss. But moving on, Packers and Steelers. I took the Packers -6. Packers won the game 27-17. Win. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, blah, 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 we know. Real takeaway here, and this is another conversation I had on, I think this one was YouTube. There was a video I saw where they were talking about, does Pittsburgh need to move on from Big Ben? So, video caught my eye. I watched it. And I put a simple question in the comment section for Steelers fans, which I'm not one, but I've seen what's going on in Pittsburgh for a few years. I said a few years ago that Big Ben was done. And then Last year they had that 11-0 start, and people were like, "Oh, everybody who wanted to write off Big Ben, look how do you feel now?" Yeah, and then the rest of that year they didn't win another game, I don't think, or they won one. But that was kind of a glimpse into what I'd been seeing probably from like the year before. Big Ben's not that guy. Hasn't been that guy in a while. Their last Super Bowl win was several years ago. The last time they were a legit contender to make a Super Bowl years ago. But for some reason, he had the security of the job year in and year out. And now what you're seeing is a guy who's older, not mobile, so because of that, he's a statue. And he's under pressure a lot because Big Ben's nature is he wants to drive the ball downfield, but he doesn't have time to do it. So it's like a real conflict. And then watching that Green Bay game, it went from trying to drive the ball downfield to their offense was literally Big Ben drops back, throws like a 1 or 2 yard pass to guys who are getting tackled immediately. So it's like a series of 3 and outs. And it's just like, that's literally what their season's going to look like going forward. And there is no pressure from the backup quarterback because you have like Mason Rudolph. No Steelers fan wants to see him in the game. So, kind of like what happened with, who was like Manning late in his career with Indy, where he would have like Jim Sorgi and some guys as his backup until the Colts figured out Manning's days were numbered. They did what they had to do to get Andrew Luck and moved on from Manning. I don't know if the Steelers are going to do it. They seem like they're loyal to Big Ben. A lot of these organizations and fan bases will dog Bill Belichick for what he does, moving on from guys, on whenever he wants. I guarantee you a situation like this with Big Ben would never have happened under Belichick. I mean, we just saw that he moved on from Brady once he thought Brady was done. And Brady looks way better than Big Ben does. So that lets you know. And then my second question to Steelers fans, which, if any of you are listening, you can answer as well. I took a look at their, last 3 first rounds. And there was one, I guess the one in particular I was looking at was the Lamar Jackson draft. Remember, Lamar was dropping, and people were wondering if he was going to, he wasn't really dropping, but people were wondering where Lamar was going to go, if he's going to be a first-round pick or not, blah, blah, blah. And some people thought he'd be in the middle of the first round. Then that didn't happen. And they were wondering if he's going to, really slide to like second round or something. He ended up getting drafted by Baltimore, who traded back into the first round, the last pick in the first round. Steelers had a pick probably 4 or 5 spots before that. They took Edmonds, who I think is a corner from Virginia Tech or something like that, instead of Lamar. We knew what Lamar was. He just came off winning a Heisman Trophy. And even then, I was saying Big Ben was on the decline. But Tomlin, Rooney, those guys, they don't seem to think that. So I was asking, did they miss the opportunity there to have a clear successor to Big Ben? And if they had taken Lamar, where would they be now instead of their current situation? I actually had Steelers fans reply to me. A lot of them said, they actually agreed with me, that Big Ben's washed. Them not taking Lamar Jackson is going to come back to haunt them for years to come. And a lot of them said Steelers don't know how to draft. Which, if you hear analysts, they'll tell you Steelers are great at drafting. So, I just put that out there. I thought it was interesting that Steelers fans actually saw it from where I was coming from. But let's move on. 2 games left. Let's get through these. Bucks, Patriots. I went against my team. Took the Bucks -7. I'm glad I got this one wrong because the Bucks won 19-17. Where do we begin on this game? We saw the coverage. Brady, Belichick. Belichick was a fool. Get rid of Brady. Brady's going to come back. He's going to run up the score on the Patriots. Brady doesn't like Belichick. Blah, 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 all this stuff. Well, going to this game, we got a very different narrative, both during the game and after the game. So during the game, what did we see? Belichick had a great game plan to go against Tom Brady and that Bucs offense. They only scored 19 points. They had trips in the red zone, came away with field goals instead of touchdowns. Mac Jones, even behind an offensive line that at times was really shaky, had some doubts if Mac was going to make it out alive. But Mac stood in there. He took hits. He made plays. And we saw kind of the reason that the Patriots took him where they did. 15. They let him fall to them. They drafted him. And we saw why. Because with all that outside noise and the pressure of that game, Mac Jones played better than Tom Brady. We saw Mac Jones run a hurry-up offense like a vet. He was changing plays at the line like a vet. He made tough throws like a vet. He did have a turnover. Wasn't completely on him. I think he got hit on the throw. He was pressured, but whatever. Past few weeks, they were trying to figure, people were questioning whether Mac could drive the ball downfield, asking questions about touchdown passes. How come they don't get any? They don't really score in the red zone. But we saw him get 2 touchdown passes. He threw one to Hunter Henry. He threw one on play action to Jonnu Smith, the 2 high-priced tight ends they brought in. We saw Kendrick Bourne show what he can be in this offense. We saw Aguilar make some plays. We had a N'Keal Harry sighting. He made a catch. Drew a pass interference call. The running game was non-existent, but we knew that because Tampa Bay defends the run better than any team in the league, basically. So yeah, even though the Patriots lost, some Patriot fans are going crazy about how the game ended because Brady led them down for a field goal, went up 19-17. Mac turned right around, drove the Patriots down the field, stalled the middle of the field. Some fans wanted them to go for it on the 4th down. Real quickly, I agreed with going for the field goal because I knew if they went for it on 4th down, Tampa Bay was going to pin their ears back, bring pressure. And there were times, like I said, where the offensive line was a little shaky. So I don't know if I could have trusted that they would have held up and Mac Jones would have had time to make a play. And on the 3rd down, he had a guy wide open over the middle, got tipped to the line. That's what put them in a situation to decide whether to go for it, kick the field goal. They tried a field goal. It was, 62 yards or something from Nick Folk, where most people will tell you that Nick Folk doesn't have that range. Because we normally see Folk stay from 40 to 46. He'll kick there, and that's kind of where they keep him. So Nick Folk lines up for the kick, drills it. When he first kicked it, I was like, I think this is going in. And it would have been 55 seconds on the clock. We'd see what Brady would have done. Would have been great theater. But Folk's kick drifted a little bit on him. He hit the upright and missed, and that's how the Bucs won the game. After the game, we saw Belichick go to midfield. He hugged Brady real quick, and he left. And people were talking about that, about how Belichick was a jerk, ungrateful, whatever. Then to learn that Belichick went to the locker room, talked to Brady for like half an hour, the two of them, whatever. Brady went to the podium after the game. Somebody asked him about going back to Foxborough at some point. He left the door open. Of course, I don't really think that means to play there. But you know it's going to be something where he'll retire. He'll have a big ceremony with the Patriots. Get his number retired, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. So thoroughly pleased with Mac Jones. I liked Mac Jones anyway. But this game really showed me that they have something there in him. I do think going forward you'll see a lot more no huddle and hurry up with him because he seems the most comfortable playing that way and spreading it out and all that kind of stuff. So they're 1-3 now, but I think a game like this will pay dividends, maybe not next week, but 3 weeks down the line or a month from now. And then this will kind of build into next year. Like I said, coming into this year, I didn't have crazy expectations for the team. But I do like the growth that I'm seeing in Mac Jones from week to week. That's where my optimism is with this team. That's not to say that they won't go on a little run here. Maybe situations change and the outlook on the season looks a little different. But this point in Mac Jones' development, I'm not really getting tied up on wins and losses. Yes, they're my team. Of course, I want them to win. But the way he performed against that Bucs defense and all the pressure and all that, it was a win in my book. That's all I'll say about that. I could talk more about the whole Brady Belichick thing. I'll probably say that for another episode or something. I don't know, because this one's getting a little long. I do have a lot of thoughts on that, but my main thing is I think the whole media creation that like Belichick hates Brady, Brady hates Belichick, I think it was completely overblown. And I mean, it built this game up even more than what it was. But I think it was a lot of, I don't even know, because you had guys writing books about their relationship, making it seem like, Belichick like just kicked him out the door and was ungrateful to him, and that Brady was real hurt or whatever. And at least from that night, it seemed like it was completely different. So I'm glad it's over. I'm sure Mac Jones is glad it's over. Now they can move forward. They have a couple of winnable games coming up here, so maybe they can get back to 3-3, kind of reset the season and move on. But it was a tough week for Mac Jones, tough week for the team. Well, not tough, but like real emotional week. It's over now. They can take a deep breath, go on about their season. Bucs 3-1. We'll have to see. Did the Patriots give some teams a playbook on how to play them? The Bucs didn't have Gronk. And we all know that Gronk is a safety blanket for Brady. So we don't know if Gronk had played in this game, what might have changed. But, the Patriots defense did all they could. They stood up to him. The offense did enough to stay in the game, but a few inches on Nick Folk's kick decided the game. And they came out on the wrong end this time. So, all right. Final game, the Monday night game. Chargers, Raiders. I took the Chargers minus the 3. They won 28-14. So win there. What do we say about this one? Okay, so for this one. This is the second time that the Raiders have been on Monday Night Football because they were there, opening night? Well, opening week. And for the second time in a row, pregame, had to listen to Steve Young and Booger McFarland talk about how I keep calling him David Carr. Derek Carr needs to get paid by the Raiders, is being disrespected, blah, 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 blah. I was so happy that Adam Schefter was there to be like, number one, he got paid a couple of years ago. Yes, it was a couple of years ago, but he got paid. He still has 2 years on his deal. The way Steve Young and them were talking about was like, Carr was on the final year of his deal, playing out the string, and he needs security. He has 2 years on the deal. Who's to say there hasn't been any report that like the Raiders don't plan on keeping him long term. Carr has come out and said that he wanted to be a Raider long term. So I don't understand the whole disrespect where that's coming from with Steve Young and them. I mean, maybe they know something that Carr isn't saying publicly. Maybe that's what they're going off of. Fine. But why has Derek Carr's contract status become this big talking point all of a sudden? If you look at Carr's history with the Raiders, what exactly has he done? And I like Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr gets probably crapped on way more than he should. But this is another question I had. I think this one was on Twitter, though. But when they were talking about how he needs to get paid, I was thinking like he's the third best quarterback in that division alone. You would take Mahomes over him. You would take Herbert over him. Some might not, only because Herbert's in his second year, but I would take Herbert over him. So right there, he's third best in the division. And then I was looking on a grander scheme of the AFC. Where would you rank him in the AFC? I just told you Mahomes, Herbert better. You would take Josh Allen over him. You would take, some would take Lamar over him. Baker Mayfield. It's probably an argument there between Baker Mayfield and him. I'd probably go Carr over Mayfield. Well, yeah, he's not a slam dunk. If Deshaun Watson was playing, you would take Deshaun Watson over him. So that's AFC. Then you bring in NFC, you'd probably take Dak Prescott over him. Aaron Rodgers, Brady, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. So he's basically a middle of the road quarterback. So yeah, I just don't get why that keeps coming up. Let the season play out. If he leads the Raiders to the playoffs, I'm sure they'll look to extend him. But if it's a year where he puts up big numbers and they go 7-10 or something, what's the point? I think too many teams give out crazy contracts to guys before they actually show that they're worth it. I get that you pay some guys based off of potential. Carr's not a rookie guy. He's been in the league like 8 years or something. I don't know if it's actually been 8 years. I'm just throwing that number out there. He's been in the league a while. So you kind of know what you're getting from him. So if he wants that big payday, he has to take that next step and actually lead the Raiders to the playoffs. Other side, Herbert, like I said, what's not to like about Herbert's game? He can make all the throws. He's tough. He took big hits in this game, bounced up, went back under center, and made plays the next play. Eckler in the backfield. He's a smaller guy, but he's real shifty. And, he's good in the passing game as well. They have Jared Cook at tight end. You have Keenan Allen, who, Love Keenan Allen's game. And the defense. I was impressed by their defense in this game. They played with a lot of energy. I mean, they were at home, of course, but they played a lot of energy, played a lot of speed. And I think this Chargers team is going to be a real problem this year. They're going to be a problem in that division. And depending on where they finish playoff seeding wise, because I fully expect them to be in the playoffs. And that's barring injuries, of course. But I think this team's going to be a real problem this year. Before the season, I thought you would see some growth from them, and they might be a problem next year. I think it's a little earlier than that. So, but yeah, there you go. That was week 4. What happened? I went 7-9. Not exactly great. So that pushes my record to 32-32. So I'm back at 500. It's fine. Then the second stat I've been following with is picking underdogs, because I was 10-4. This past week I went 1-1, 1-2. Did I go 1-3 picking underdogs? Ugh. Yeah, so I went 1-3, so that means 11-7 picking underdogs. I mean, it's not too bad. But before, let you go on this episode, get out of here. Gotta do Thursday Night Football real quick, because I have to do my pick for that game. Gotta say, so far these primetime games have been sneaky good matchups. We got another one on Thursday. Rams, Seahawks. I mean, great game. Divisional game, NFC West. Seahawks coming at 2-2. Rams 3-1. Seahawks get a win here. They can tie with the Rams. And then depending on what happens with Arizona, make that division a little bit tighter. Rams looking to bounce back after the loss to the Cardinals, so they want to stay a game behind them, possibly tie them based on what happens with the Cardinals. You're getting Russell Wilson versus Matt Stafford. You got Tyler Lockett, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, Robert Woods. You got Aaron Donald defensively, Jalen Ramsey, and then you have Bobby Wagner. Yeah, Pete Carroll, Sean McVay. And it's up in Seattle, so you get the 12 up there, which you know is going to be loud. So right now, looking at it, the Rams are a 2.5 point favorite in this game. I think because it's in Seattle, I'm going to go Seahawks here plus 2.5. What you're probably starting to see is very few times I will go against the Seahawks when picking. And for those of you who may be asking, no, I'm not from Seattle or anything. I'm a Patriots fan from Boston. But I've always appreciated what Russell Wilson's doing out there. And I guess since Pete Carroll did coach the Patriots, I've kind of followed what he's been doing out there as well. But I think you might get more of the same what happened with Arizona. What Arizona did against the Rams here with the Seahawks. Now the Cardinals have more weapons offensively and a better defense. But it's a short week, and I think the home team gets a little bit of a boost from being at home on a short week. And Russell Wilson's he's that good. So, going Seahawks here, plus the 2.5. I'm going to randomly throw a score out there. I can see the Seahawks winning this one like 27-23. But yeah, so that's the first pick for week 5. Won't do the rest of week 5 right now because all those games are Sunday or whatever, so we'll see. I'll probably do that like Friday, and you'll get the episode like Saturday or something. And I think it's another full slate of games. I don't know. I don't think any team's on a bye week yet. So looks like another 16 games to try to get that record above 500. But I guess that's as good a point as any to stop on this episode. So hopefully you liked what you heard. Maybe you learned something. I don't know. But thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you're new, welcome. Hopefully you liked it. You stick around. Check out some old episodes. There's plenty of them there for you. But yeah, wherever you are listening to this podcast, go ahead and hit subscribe or the follow button. If you're on Apple Podcasts, only because I go on there often, leave a review, leave a rating, do all that. Definitely would appreciate that. But yeah. What else? Oh, as I was talking about Twitter and all that, follow me on Twitter at Chompin' Podcast. As I said, I tweet pretty often during football games, basketball, during whatever sport I'm watching. I usually tweet, so interact with me there. And if you prefer YouTube, all the episodes are there as well. Subscribe to my channel, Kyle Edwards. Every episode's on there. No, it's not video yet, but you can still listen to the episodes there. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell as well so you'll know when new episodes are posted. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. So thanks again for tuning in. Be safe out there. God bless. Catch you next episode. All right, I'm out.